and welcome to our 4th episode of the When They Cry podcast, Umineko Bookclub. I'm your host, Lorenzo.
Hello, people with good taste. I'm back to the book club. I'm Des.
Hi, this is Ava Treese. I'm the co-host of this episode and the editor.
Hello, this is Mushroom. I'm just here to spirit out the most ridiculous things. You can also call me Mush.
And today in our backseat we have Yensid, who's just here to listen to our recording like a regular old podcast. So say hello to him. He won't say anything, but he's there in the corner, just breathing silently.
Hello, muted Yensid.
So I'm just gonna, start out by asking everybody how their days are. It's been a couple of weeks since we last talked through the book club, and it's probably been even longer since Jess has been around.
Mm-hmm.
You guys doing all right? Cool.
Yeah, just been procrastinating on my uni work.
Yeah, I heard you started school recently, right?
I did. I just finished the second week of school. This last week I actually went to uni physically, and it was not fun. Wow. The trains are completely filled with people, and I do not like interacting with people in these hard times.
Well, hopefully you didn't get sick. You have one more week to see if you fully inoculated the virus, but that's fine. I hope you're okay.
I hope as well.
I mean, you can catch it twice.
What?
So... Yeah, there have been cases of people getting it twice.
Uh-oh.
It's called mutation.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty spooked. Yeah. My uni had just went on code yellow, and because my area just went on, they're like, oh, the second wave is happening. And I was like, and I'm just sitting here being like, well, what does it mean to have a second wave when our first wave didn't even finish yet?
That's like...
It's a bigger wave.
I think it means like a high rate.
God.
Yeah, I think it means of the high rate infection, like they're expecting more like the levels to increase to the way that they were when the infection rate was getting really intense. It's mostly, I think, to indicate for like hospital preparedness, because now that we're going into more flu season time period, we're going to expect more people with compromised immune systems because they're recovering from flu, I think, is the idea. I think.
So get your flu shots if you haven't already, because, yikes, you don't want to be part of that second, 1.5 plus second wave. That's like a Kingdom Hearts title, like COVID 1.5 plus 2.
No, it has to be like 1.5 and then like a subtitle, like, I don't know, the yellow alerting.
Yeah, exactly. Yellow alerting, infected animals plus what's COVID's? Oh, I guess it's COVID-19.
We do Funky Kong mode.
Funky Kong mode, yeah. Because I heard I heard this, but I didn't actually read it. But I heard COVID has been infecting non-human animals, and that's the scariest thing ever because that basically turns it into a super virus. Because if it gets back into a person, they're like, oh, I don't know how to read dog antigens, but. It's
there's been a few cases of people infecting their pets. I remember hearing about a case in the UK. They made a really big deal of it, of a woman managed to infect her cat.
Well,
and stuff like that. So, God. But the thing is that those are probably in most cases at the moment, at least isolated individual mutations. I don't think it's enough for us to become oh my god, all the cats, burn them, because
no. Yeah, it's pretty upsetting. I mean, it's just the way it is. The world's on fire.
What it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge bummer. How about we divert our attention and talk about fictional murder? That sounds.
Wait. How about everyone else's day? How come I'm the only one who gets?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, go ahead. Let's go down the list. Avatris, anything special happen to you?
I'm just tired because I've just been no-lifing my way through Star Wars The Old Republic's Imperial Agent storyline.
How?
It's fun.
Good.
Sure.
It is. It's easily, the Old Republic series is easily the best storyline for any of the Star Wars games. Honestly, anything Star Wars related in general, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard good things about the Old Republic, and I mean, I believe you. I guess it's my turn to talk about my life thus far. I am so close to beating 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I don't know if you guys heard of it. I was talking about it earlier. It's like a vanillaware sci-fi adventure game about kaiju and mechas? Nah? No? It's
Yeah, I have a friend who's into
darn.
that stuff.
I'm not into mechas and kaiju as well, but my friend recommended it to me, and like it's got this huge like sprawling mystery and like disjointed storytelling kind of thing going on, and it's like surprisingly really good. Like it went in a way that I was like, oh, I can see all these tropes like coming together like this. I used my Umineko active reading to like, you know, see what was actually going on, and I was like halfway right, but at the same time I'm like, whoa, these characters are doing things that I like didn't expect, or like there's one character storyline that like meshes into the other character storyline like in a way that's like really like, wow, world building, who? This game's doing it all. And the art's really cool. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Vanillaware or seen their games, but basically they have like this hand painted looking art style that looks really good. It's basically like I don't know if you heard of Skullgirls, but that's also like a hand-drawn, hand-animated video game that uses like really cartoony looking sprites. Vanillaware does the same thing, but like all of their sprites and backgrounds, they look like masterpieces. It's really cool. But that's my gushing about my recent video game obsession, and I will be finished with it soon. Like, I was contemplating staying up till like 4 a.m. beating it last night, but I was like, I gotta be responsible on the weekends. But anyways.
That's funny.
Oh, they did Odin Sphere.
Oh, yes, yes. So if you're familiar with Odin Sphere and its weird foot fetish artwork, yeah, that's kind of what they do. The story in 13 Sentinels is good enough for you to ignore the fan service. I'll say that much. Like, it's pretty good. And Dragon's Crown, too. Dragon's Crown also has weird foot fetish art. But, you know, Japan, their culture, you know, I'm not going to yuck their yum, but, you know.
That's so funny.
So my turn now.
Yeah.
Oh, my turn? Okay, since everybody has been talking, I guess besides Des, everybody has been talking about games, I have two little things that I wanted to mention. First thing is, I just 2 days ago, I got the game Return to Obra Dinn.
Oh, yes.
And it is like really good if you're a huge Umineko fan or just like a huge mystery fan in general. I would like totally recommend you to get it. I feel like at this point when this episode finally gets out, it's gonna be the original price again. It was on sale when I got it, but I would highly advise anybody to get it for the price it is, or wait for it to go on sale. But like, it's super amazing. It gives a very like, it's like a 1980s, like, not 1980s, what am I saying? It's 1800 and you're on a boat and trying to like solve 60 murders essentially, and figuring out like who's who and like what's this body doing here and why did this person get crushed by a cannon or that person get like stabbed in the back. And
it has a very distinct art style. Like, it's the one that basically presents itself like an old movie, right? With just black and white.
Yeah, it's like a really cool black and white style. It has like, and I just want to say, like, the music slaps. The soundtrack is, the person who made the music is a guy who also wrote Paper Please, and it's good. That's something I would recommend first. And my second little thing I want to talk about is, so Des, you're gonna rejoice of like after hearing this. Are you ready? So I have a friend on my other server who told me that who read Umineko, who like loved Umineko, and who currently just started to read Higurashi. And since this person is nice enough, so this person has been essentially updating me on like their journey to reading Higurashi. Yes. So like I was like, hey, what's your expectations? What do you think so far? And I get to like finally pick a person's brain out while they're reading Higurashi like currently. And it's hilarious because they're just like, they're not really a huge anime person, but they're pretty big like visual novel or like a mystery novel person. So they're like, why are all these like weird like sexy things about children? Like, this is very uncomfortable. And I was like, oh god, I completely forgot. And he's like, how old are supposed to be these people? And he's like, why being so horny to your 13-year-old friend and ask them to do shit like this? And I was like, And then meanwhile, I'm just like, damn, like being an anime fan really requires you to like look past so many things. And I was like, hey, just keep going on Higurashi. And then this is quote them. They wrote, Umineko is my favorite work of fiction of all time, so I'm really looking forward to something similar. I'm not sure if it has stuff like the meta world or like a horror story that's a mystery, but I'm still very excited for the similarity, or it shares this atmosphere. Amazing character, mystery writing. And then he's just like, the part that I'm really confused about is the dating sim aspect so far, but like, I guess this is just like the appeal. Like, he's like, it's just not my appeal. And it's pretty funny. I just like, I mean, from future on, I probably will bring up on and off about this person's journey through it. They just finished the part in Higurashi where, in like the first arc when, Keiichi is suspicious and he gets mad.
What's the thing I should rejoice about? The fact that they're giving a chance to Higurashi even though it has so much weird shit in it?
No, the report that you'd rejoice about is like, now I get to have a live specimen that I could just like observe.
Oh, and they can bring you over to my side. Then... Okay. Listeners, in case the episode in question hasn't gone out yet, me and Mush participated in an episode we recorded a week ago about the discussion of whether Higurashi or Umineko should come first. And that's why we're having this talk right now.
Or you should read as a reader.
Yeah. I've accepted that.
Okay, anyway, we need to.
For sure.
Let's get on to
in the argument that you should read Umineko first, because it has really cool, juicy murders, we're going to continue off of what we were talking about in the third episode. So, we are about to begin to talk about the aftermath of Eva and Hideyoshi's death. So, Eva, Hideyoshi's body is found by Kanon and Genji, and everybody shows up. George is, crumpling down on the floor because everybody he's ever loved is dead, but, that's what he deserves.
Sorry, I'm just getting flashbacks to the way they animated that. I'm just remembering how they animated that in the anime. Has anyone else seen the Umineko anime? Yeah?
I have not, but...
I've seen it back when it first came out, but I don't remember much of it.
When George finds Eva's body in the anime, he rams his face into her chest and there is jiggle physics. It's so inappropriate.
Oh my god.
Wait.
Oh, whoa.
Wait, I don't remember that. Also, just for the viewers to, imagine this, if you haven't seen the anime, Eva is lying on a bed, she has a stake in the, middle of her head that's, stake through, and now George, the person he is, rams his head between the boobs.
He's like, now's my chance.
Crying his face off, and, it's just... It's ugly and it's gross because it's like, why? Why are you putting boob jiggle into this? Couldn't you have put your animation budget somewhere else other than making this son jiggle his dead mother's breasts?
They gotta put some fan service in there somewhere, especially on a dead woman. Holy shit.
Dean!
Anyways, that happens. Jiggle physics, George ramming his head into his mom's chest, I guess, that's cute and weird. And Battler's outside, he's acting like, that one Vine where that kid's on the verge of tears, he's like, if you touch me again, I'm gonna rip your fucking face off, bitch. And then they're like, what'd he do to you? And he's like, because he fucking pushed me. That's exactly how Battler sounds. He's like, next time I see that culprit, I'm gonna fucking rip his face off because he killed my whole family. Oh, boo-hoo. But that's his state of mind at the moment. And so anyways, they're like, we gotta, stick together, make sure this culprit or whoever doesn't sneak up on us, but before they leave, they notice there's this really stinky burning smell. Kanon and Kumasawa, they go and check the kitchen because Kumasawa's like, holy shit, did I also just leave the stove burning and now the house is about to burn down on top of all these murders?
I wouldn't want that.
Right, and then they leave. The cousins talk about how Eva and Hideyoshi's murder has the circumstances of a perfect locked room because it's not really feasible that anybody entered through the window, and they're
Or
like
through the
deep
door.
inside their guest room. Yeah, and the door was locked with a chain. Like, they're just like, how did somebody just kill them? Like, when the door was locked and somehow escaped at the same time. And Maria comes up doing her Beatrice bullshit, and Battler slaps her a little bit, and she's like, well, there's this magic circle that allows the user to magically bypass any room that they're locked in, and Battler's like, oh my god, shut up, your family's dying, and this is all you can think about.
Yeah.
So, anyways, what is it? The Kanon and Kumasawa, they are en route to the kitchen, and they notice that the stinky burning smell, is coming from the boiler room. They hear a door close inside that leads to the courtyard, and Kanon's like, I'm on it. I'm going to like avenge everybody who died, aka just Shannon, because I hate everybody else. So he goes there. He screams. He confronts these golden butterflies that appear before him. He runs with an axe, and he gets totally pwned in the chest, and he gets stabbed, and he starts bleeding out. Kumasawa's like, oh my god, everybody come here quick. Kanon got, pwned in the chest. He got stabbed by this demon stake, and everybody's just like, oh wow, he's still breathing. Let's get him to the servants' quarters and tend to his wounds while we can. And in the meantime, Battler's like going through that door that they thought closed into the courtyard to see if he can like catch the culprit, but he can't find anyone. So all he does is mope, and they say at this point in the story, we can't do anything until when the seagulls cry, the crime will be solved. And I'm like,
Oh,
there
yo,
it is
name
again.
drop.
Yeah, they said it. Battler's doing his little hissy fit in the courtyard. Everybody inside the boiler room pull out a charred corpse from the incinerator. That's where the stinky burning smell came from. And they're like, oh my god, they got Kinzo. He was gone this whole time, and we thought it was him, maybe, but it wasn't, because he's dead. And he's also charred to a crisp and has a stake in his forehead. They're like, are you sure it's Kinzo? And they're like, yeah, we're sure. He has like a extra toe on his foot, that nasty bitch.
I think he has 6 toes on each toe.
Yeah.
They like make this little show. Like,
foot,
polydactyly runs in the family. It's a mark of a good leader. But basically, they're like, this is for sure Kinzo. And Maria pipes up about Beatrice, I mean, taking everyone to the Golden Land back on her bullshit, even though her like dead grandpa's like right in front of her.
Well,
So,
it's her way of coping with it, because she's just like, oh, come on, guys, don't be sad. She'll resurrect us all afterwards in the Golden Land, so it's okay.
I suppose that she's like doing this to a disturbing amount where she's like, are you
It's still
disillusioned?
creepy as fuck, but like, it makes sense for her to be constantly rambling on about it, because to her, that's like, that makes everything okay. And she
Totally.
thinks everyone else should be okay. Everyone else should be okay and not sad, because as she says to Jessica when they go to check on Kanon later on, it's like, don't worry, you'll see him again soon.
Yeah, that's ominous. It's like everybody dies.
The visual novel is. I remember when I first read episode 1, and also just rereading it for this. Episode 1 is so atmospheric that you really feel like you're there, and like everyone's getting killed in very disturbing ways and impossible ways, and you don't know if you're gonna be the next one being killed. You don't know if your close family is gonna be the next to be killed, or some random servant or not. You just don't know what's going on. You don't know if you're gonna get out of there alive, and then you just have this kid just acting this way. Oh my god, I didn't even know what to say. Like, imagine how Batra would have felt there, for example. Like, if you just say Batra hit Maria in the face, just like, oh, why would he do that? What the hell, Batra? Don't hit kids. But if you think about this from his perspective and everything that was going on, you're just like, okay, Maria, chill out a bit.
Yeah, we're like, if we need to like use bait to catch the killer, we're using you, because you seem totally on board with dying. So Anyways, at this point, Cannon's already dead. Jessica's all messed up because she's like, oh my god, my secret one true love. And Maria can't read the room, and she's like, ha ha ha, Cannon is in the Golden Land. Everybody's going to be there soon. And everybody agrees to hold themselves in a room to guard themselves against the killer. And the most likely, or the safest room in the mansion, since the killer probably has a master key, is Kinzo's study. So they all hold themselves inside of there.
The killer does not have a master key. Don't you know that
doesn't have
the
a
witch
master key,
can pass through every pocket ever because of the magic circle, Lorenzo?
Right. Well, no, that was the thing that they also bring up, is that the door handles of Kinzo's study also have that little scorpion insignia or magic circle that basically mimic Maria's scorpion charm thingy that was supposed to ward against bad magic. So she's like, this is the only safe place we can be because the witch can't get us. And everyone's like, sure, whatever. So they're inside the study. They're looking around, just like, milling about. And Natsuhi reads the letter that was under Ava and Hideyoshi's room. And it basically just says, hey guys, it's Beatrice again. And I'm really close to killing all your asses. I'm about to win this game. And Natsuhi asks Genji if Beatrice was like a real person, right? And he's like, yeah. And she also may have had a kid, I think, maybe. And all the cousins are like, oh, so the rumors were true. And Natsuhi's like, shut up. We gotta respect Kinzo.
I thought the words were specifically that he was his mistress. I don't think they bring up anything about a child from memory.
No, I think Genji says something like, I mean, she may have had a kid, people do tend to have kids.
Yeah, because Jessica's like, yeah, he's really supportive of this orphanage. It's like pretty sus. And Natsuhi's like, hey, shut up. He's a respectful man with good taste. He's totally decent. He's like, the ideal gentleman. There's no wrong he can do, right?
In this house, we respect Kinzo.
Right? Do not disrespect him in this house. Battler realizes that all the killings thus far, they basically follow the epitaph. They're all described in the epitaph. It's like a ritual killing, and he's like, oh my god, we're all gonna die, aren't we? So, as he's realizing that, a letter magically appears on the study's table under everybody's noses, and Natsuhi's like, holy shit, one of you guys definitely put this in there. She tells everyone to line up against the wall, all the servants, and Maria. Like, she just points a gun at them.
That scene was so intense, and then System Zero starts playing, just like believing oneself to be perfect is often the sign of a delusional mind. Oh my fucking god, I love episode 1.
Right? I was just like so ready for like Maria to like, do her bullshit, and Natsuhi's like she does it, she's like what is it? Natsuhi's like, you better watch your mouth, I'm gonna do it, and Maria's like, do it, bitch.
I'm so everybody's pull the trigger. You can't pull the trigger. That's murder.
I mean, Maria just doesn't care. That's the thing, because she genuinely thinks that Beatrice can just bring her back to life. So
she's like that.
Yeah, Maria's truly living on the edge. Maria does not
Ride
care.
Or die.
She's not having a good time.
Yeah, she's like, shoot me, do it. Anyways, so everybody who aren't Natsuhi and the older cousins are immediately suspicious about putting that envelope on the table.
Because they were
so Natsuhi basically... Exactly, right. They're the only possible people who could have done it, right? So she's like, either one or all of you are in cahoots with the killer. Get the hell out of here. So they kick them out of the room, and Kumasawa's like, no, you can't. There's a killer out there. And everybody's like, well, you were the one who found Cannon's body, so you're also pretty suspicious. So they basically kick them out. They feel kind of bad about it, but they're like, was that the right thing? And they take out that envelope and start reading it, and they notice that not only does it say, I'm about to win, bitches, signed Beatrice, there's a magic circle on it, which they realize it represents Discord, not the app. There's like a little Discord logo on the letter. No, it basically, they're like, oh my god, we fell for the witch's trap. like, the letter sowed discord, and discord happened. And at that moment, the phone rings, and they're like,
Oh,
who the hell is
they're
this?
calling
The phones
us on
are down,
Discord.
right? Like
The call is coming in from the inside of the house right now.
right? Yeah, they're saying, how is this possible? The phone lines are down, and they hear Maria on the other side doing a creepy baby song on the other side. What was it? Do you guys remember, like, the song she was singing?
It
like,
was some children's song that you learned in kindergarten or something.
Yeah. I just remember hearing, like, the voiceover for it, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's creepy. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies, as one might say, the academic term. So everybody leaves their safe their hideaway. Like, they just leave the study. They're like, okay, I kind of regret sending a 9-year-old out there with a potential killer. So let's go find them. So they end up busting into the parlor, and they find, like, everybody dead except Maria. It's like a really creepy CG where she's, like, standing facing a corner. Her singing is basically playing all throughout the background music, you know?
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
I think
before they enter the parlor, the scene where they're just, like, getting in the zone to opening the door, the pressure on that scene, you're just like, oh my god, what are they gonna find on the other side of the room? And you just hear Maria, nah, nah, nah. Nah, nah, nah. I'm like, oh my fucking, just open the door already. I cannot stand this.
Right? I was actually, like, feeling, like, chills when I was, like, reading this part. I mean, the writing was getting kind of verbose and, like, kind of killed the mood, but at that moment I was like, oh my god, everybody's dead. They kind of describe it as, like, everybody's heads looked like, what was it, tomato pot stew wrapped in pie crust torn apart. I was like, wow, that good, huh? So Maria,
that's an imagery,
right? And Maria's just, like, standing there all covered in blood, still singing her song, and the cousins are like, holy shit, Maria, what's wrong with you? Everybody's, like, dead. And she's like, ooh, Beatrice, you know? Or Beatrice, ooh.
Yeah, so I think the people who died in that room is Kumasawa, Nanjo, and Genji,
yes,
right?
the 3 servants, remaining servants. So they're all dead. They all have stakes in their, like, legs, knees, and stomachs to represent the
legs, knees,
the 6th, 7th, and 8th twilight. And they're like, oh my god, it's true, everybody's going to die soon. And at that point, Maria's like, oh, Beatrice didn't get me because Battler gave me my scorpion charm back, which he lied about losing at one point, but he gave it back to her before they kicked him out of the room because he felt kind of empathetic towards her. And she's like, Beatrice told me to look at this wall like an idiot. And she notices Natsuhi's actually gone, or everyone notices Natsuhi's gone, and Maria's like, oh yeah, she was reading another letter and kind of left the room. So it cuts to Natsuhi, who's in front of the entrance hall portrait. She sees gold butterflies. She's like, okay, bitch, it's me and you. We're going to do a duel. Like, on the count of 3, draw. And it cuts away from her. And at that point, I was like, oh, Natsuhi, my love. she's doing her best to protect the children. But the kids run up to her, find her in the entrance hall with a bullet hole in their head. And Jessica's all kinds of messed up. She's like, Mom, why'd you do this to yourself?
Because
her
gun,
like,
her
if you
gun
think
had
about how
smoke
funny
on it.
Yeah, there's a smoking gun. She had this duel with Beatrice, which they describe her actually encountering. Like, wow, there's an actual person in this story who's acting as the witch. So Maria says, the Golden Witch revival is complete. She runs to the figure run in the shadows who's described as the subject of the portrait. So all the cousins see for themselves that there's this thing or person or figure, they don't have a sprite or anything for it, that's basically Beatrice reincarnated. And the clock strikes midnight. There's this whole spiel about how funky the midnight is in theory. Like, oh, it's a point in time where, you know, it's both the next day and the previous day at the same time. Ooh. And they basically say, after the clock strikes midnight, the whole screen's filled with like a giant clock striking midnight. And they basically end the story saying, none shall be left alive. And then the credits roll. They say, the children's corpses were found, the events unfolded were only described in a message in the bottle, as described as a notebook fragment, which I'm like, whoa, notebook fragment. The letter in the bottle is authored by Maria Ushiramiya,
Yes.
which basically described everything that happened that you just read. So they're like, oh, I might be alive or dead, which the latter is the case because they find a piece of her jaw somewhere, as
Yes.
they say in the epilogue. And she ends her letter with, please find out the truth. That is my only wish. So basically this whole time it was a message in a bottle, like detailing this murder mystery with a bunch of locked rooms and crazy shit.
I know
Written
you're
by a
left
9-year-old
to
for some reason.
to yourself to try to get your head around what just happened and try to come to a conclusion whether there really was a witch or if there was someone with some kind of plan to get the gold or something. And
Right.
the main episode ends, and the end credits go by so fast. Could any of you actually read all of the contents before it ended? It was a race just to get it all read before it got off screen. At least for me.
Yeah, some of them it's pretty quick to, disappear from your sight, but I was able to, like, glean at least some more important bits, because, like, they had a list of the cast and how they died, and I was like, oh, I already know all this. I don't need to, like, pay attention to that, but I was trying to, like, focus on all the new information they were giving me, and then there's a whole bunch of, like, BS about the epitaph being fulfilled and everyone's soul is going to be revived, so don't be sad. What is it? None of the 18 people could have solved the riddle, so none of the survivors basically lived when the seagulls cried. And that was the end of it, of the main episode at least. So I was like, wow, that was a story. What did you guys think when you got to that point?
Well, first of all, I was like, oh my god, only Maria's jaw was found? What?
Oh yeah, and I was like, "What? That's hella weird. Like, how is it her jaw that's found?" And if you're looking at the tips, if you're being an active reader, you'll notice that like not only is everybody's killed character sprite kind of like marked off where they got killed, like if they got shot, stabbed in the head, or what was it? Their faces were missing. All the cousins, their bodies are just like completely red, and I'm like, whoa, that good? Like, what the hell happens? And the description's like, oh, monsters tore them apart. They came from hell and ate them up. And I'm like, I'm a stupid, dumb baby. I'm gonna believe this. So you'll notice, dear reader, that there's an epilogue labeled The Tea Party of episode 1, which you can read. It shows all the cousins, Canon and Shannon, in what they call Purgatorio. They talk about the mystery, and they argue about Beatrice's existence, and Battler's like, this is kind of weird. Like, don't you think a human definitely could have killed everyone? Even though he can't really explain it, that's kind of his gut feeling, and everybody's like, nah, just believe in Beatrice, man. Like, she's gonna grant us all our wishes. She brought all our love interests back, and all our families together and happy again. And he's like, no, it's definitely a person, right? Right? And Maria's like, well, wouldn't you look who's here? And the woman of the hour, Beatrice, shows up. She's got her beautiful, right? Her sprite shows up, and I'm like, finally, like, this is the person whose face is on the program icon. Like, this is what I've been waiting for.
She looks so majestic the first time she appears. Like, when you're not used to her sprite, every time she's on screen, you're like, oh my god, I'm witnessing some divine revelation right now. This person, like, just the presence of this witch and the way she talks and all of this, like, oh my god, Beato.
And I hope you're listening, you have the voice acting on, because her voice actor really sells it. It's amazing. She's just like, has this haughty, grandiose kind of thing to her voice. She's like, so, dear Bachelor, you think you can challenge me and
cackle.
Deny my magic? And she does her little witch laugh, whatever, and she transports Battler to the right before Eva and Hideyoshi's death. And she's like, check out this magic. I'm gonna
look at all of these murders.
Summon a magic stake. Right, I'm gonna summon a magic demon stake to slip through the cracks and stab these two in the head. have their little have their little bouncing around steak sound effect, just not like a meat steak, but you know, a demon steak weapon thing, just like clanging around like a what is it, a rubber ball ballistic, whatever. Anyways, they end up killing his uncle and aunts. The cousins are like, what was it? The cousins and servants, except Battler, they begin to melt, basically, in front of his face. He's like, I don't believe in witches, even if you have to, like, murder my cousins and melt their faces in front of me. And Jessica's saying, Battler, don't give up, like we did. Defeat the witch and solve the mystery. Like, what was it? You know, in your typical video game affair where the damsel in distress basically lists off a bunch of exposition. Just, you gotta, you know,
go to the water
wake
temple,
up the crystals and save me, right?
Magic horseman of the apocalypse of the third moon of Jupiter.
Exactly, and she's like melting at the same time. She's like, Battler, solve the mystery. And Battler's like, I'm gonna rip your fucking face off, bitch. Let's fucking go. And Beatrix is like, let's start this witches game. And that's the beginning of Umineko for you.
The tea party ends up with Batra and Beata screaming at each other. Credits roll. And that's the end of the regular tea party.
Yeah, it does this whole montage of all the cutscenes of the pertaining to the mystery, and I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to dive into the 7 other episodes of 15-hour long content.
This is the welcome to Umineko part.
Right. It's like when you play a game and then the title finally shows up.
When you're playing what?
Oh, go ahead.
No,
sorry, what?
No, I was asking you what you said. I didn't get that.
Oh, yeah, it was like, you know when you play a video game up to the point and you beat the prologue and then the title shows up? Like, that was it. That 15-hour long like reading sesh was basically the lead up to the beginning of Umineko, and you're in for the long haul, hopefully.
Yeah, and
thoughts and feels?
As I was trying to say some time before, the tip screen screwed me over because I always look at the tip screen. I'm a very frequent visitor of the menu screen, and like I read Batra's description and it says, "Oh, the golden wine didn't work out before because this dipshit Batra didn't believe in it." Like, and I'm like, no, I'm clearly seeing the golden wine here. What you're talking about? So the tip screen basically spoils what's going to happen on the tea party at the start of the tea party. And I was kind of like, okay, that's kind of a weird design decision. But sure, let's go with that.
Oversight.
I mean, I'd argue the fact that the story
Really
continues is kind of indicative that it doesn't just end up all going in the witch's favour, but fair enough.
And now we get into the secret tea party.
Yeah, there's more.
And Higurashi fans love this secret tea party, I bet.
Ah, shit. I think I actually overlooked that. So if anybody else wants to take the reins on describing what happened in the secret tea party.
I will then. Because as I've said, my episode 1 knowledge is like, bro, I could get a PhD just on the first episode, I'm telling you. Okay, so secret tea party of the first episode. We've got Batra crying on the witch's smoking room. And then Beato receives a visitation from another witch. This witch is called Berncaster, the Witch of Miracles. Beato goes to the kitchen basically, not only to prepare tea, but also to start preparing the next game board and to bring it over to the witch's smoking room. And Berncastel takes this opportunity to speak with our little MC, who's still crying like a baby. And she basically tells him, hey, you're in for quite the ride, let me tell you. This is not gonna be easy. And I'm rooting for you, so behind the scenes, I'm gonna be helping you.
I remember getting to the tea party, and if you have read Higurashi first, like, you have seen the idea of tea party. It's just like an omake. Like, it's like, oh, characters are getting together. They're just talking about what happened this episode.
It's not actually
like,
part
it's
of the story. It's like a bonus.
Yeah, it's like, it's not... yeah, it's like not canon, like it's just people talking. And then meanwhile, so like when I was reading Umineko, I was like, oh, they're in Tea Party right now. Like they're just talking about the murder. Like, wow, like can't you believe that?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. And then suddenly like Beatrice shows up, and Beatrice is just like, and then Battler is like, you're not fucking real. Like you're like, wait, why is this story still going? Like what the fuck is happening?
Canon? What?
Yeah, like what's happening? And then you finish reading that part, and then you're like, wait, there's more for me to read? Like, I thought this was done.
Yeah, like, so there's more? What? Just keeps unlocking more bits.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just more bits.
So, continuing the secret tea party, basically Baron tells Batra that he has to find out about the rules, and after finding out the rules, then he can start worrying about how to defeat this witch. And at this point everyone is like, what do you mean, what? Okay, I guess let's continue. It just makes no fucking sense at that point.
Oh, totally. Like, as a new reader, you're like totally in the dark as to what happens. Even for myself, I read Umineko first, and I started reading the Tea Party. I was like, what's this weird everybody's alive characters talking about the story epilogue stuff going on? And then this wild card Beatrice shows up and starts melting everybody, and you jump into the mystery was it secret tea party?
Mm-hmm.
And all the witches start talking about their own thing, and I'm like, I can't follow, and I don't know if I can last through these next 7 episodes, but go off, I guess.
It's very confusing.
Oh, new readers, if you have finished EP1 and you feel like, wow, that was some fucking doozy, you really didn't understand what fucking was going on there, like, don't worry. Like, Umineko is very confusing for first timer, especially EP1 is like, just throws you in the deep end. Like, just keep going. If you have read EP1, you should just keep going at this point. Like, it's a story that does not disappoint, and it would really, and the more you stay with it, like, the better it gets. So, like, yeah, just you could do it. I believe in you.
If your reaction is, what the fuck is going on, congratulations. You're going through the exact same experience everyone was when EP1 first came out. And congratulations! Because you're, like, in the future relative to those people, you don't have to wait for months before the next part comes out.
Yeah, you could just keep going.
So, yay!
You can totally binge it for, like, 300 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
Go off. Go for it.
That's your choice. You're not held cap. You don't have to, like, sit here and just mull over, like, okay,
twiddle your fingers for 6 months until translation comes out. But yeah,
I wanted to say something on the lines of what Mush said, which is that I really hate when pieces of fiction have this character that tries to act like they're all knowledgeable and say something that you don't understand, but you're like, okay, I'm at the start of the story. This is probably gonna be explained later on, and it's just never touched again, and it's just some random ass line that they made the character say just to make them look knowledgeable and like they're important. So, like, Umineko isn't that kind of story, okay? Everything the characters say has a meaning behind it. So, you're feeling confused, but rest assured, everything's gonna be correctly explained.
Yes, so if you have not finished Umineko, actually, please kindly
exit the theater on the left side.
No, peace the heck off. Yes, just please do not listen beyond now. This is your final warning. We are going to spoil the rest of the story for you, and while it won't necessarily ruin the whole experience, it kind of... what kind of person does that? Who, like, reads the end and then tries to read the story?
No, it definitely does
that for
spoil the experience. What you talking about, Lorenzo?
Yeah. I know people who do that.
Don't listen to him.
Yeah. Don't do that.
I totally did that to Higurashi, so I'm doing a self-call out. But yes, please leave. If you haven't already, stop listening to us. We're going to talk about big boy stuff now. The adults are talking. All right? 5, 4, 3, 2... Mana
Mana,
mana.
mana.
Thank you.
That was your final call. All right, cool. Spoil everything. Shannon and Cannon, Beatrice, that's them.
Okay.
And everything becomes suddenly, like, really stupidly, boringly easy to solvable once you know that. And like,
Right.
oh yeah, now Jones, yeah, this servants are in on it. They probably put the envelope there. Blah. It's just like, oh man, this is so easy to solve now.
Exactly, and they even, like, he basically sprinkled the answers within the text, like, oh, it was definitely one of the servants who put the letter
Or
in
Maria.
there, or, like, when I was reading through, I was like, I don't think Cannon's actually dead, maybe, but, you know, and it didn't cross my
course
mind that
he
Nanja
isn't.
could actually, like, lie for Cannon. I was like, oh, you know, Nanja said it, I'm gonna listen to everything he says, because he's the doctor,
Yeah.
and he has ultimate authority over what people say, even though the story basically says, hey,
Yeah, like-
Nanja could have been lying.
The only,
Yeah.
the
Think about
only
that,
thing that
maybe?
throws a wrench in that a little bit is the fact that Jessica was there the whole time, but then you remember that Jessica's dumb as fuck.
Well,
so.
not only that, like,
She
Oh,
probably
right.
would listen to Nanjo, like Nanjo's like, nope, can't feel a pulse. But I definitely seem to be feeling it. No, there is no pulse, they are dead, I am doctor.
I mean, I think, like,
Let us take the body away.
I'm pretty sure, like, I don't even think that the cousin had that much time with Cannon's body either. Like, they were just, like, I think they showed up, they saw Cannon body on the ground, they start running out immediately, like, and then they turn around and, like, found out about, like, the burning body, which is, like, Kingslow's body, and at that point, they were, like, so, like, disoriented and, like, not paying enough attention. I don't even think they would have noticed his Cannon's body has moved or just gone or anything. They were just like, oh shit.
Well, they pick up
Okay,
and carry
yeah.
the body out. As soon as
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
soon as they
But
go in,
Georgia
they
and
grab the
Nanjo-
body
they
and carry it out. But then Jessica apparently spends time with it afterwards, and they see it. But it's quite entirely possible they could have swapped it in the meantime, basically.
Oh,
So
totally.
they probably took it out, swapped it with a double, and then Jessica's basically crying.
How
over
could
a
she just,
fake
like,
body.
not know that's a fucking real body? That's so funny. That's actually hilarious.
Or maybe he's actually alive and he's just breathing with his eyes closed, and Jessica's like, oh my god, if only you could do this with your eyes open, I would have been so happy.
Oh no.
Nanjo, nope, definitely
We have
dead. Puts like drape over
Right.
Yeah,
them.
this you're seeing, like the chest going up and down, those are just spasms, like
That's
no
just
breathing
the
here.
gases leaving the body.
I love
I mean, that's not even a
bleeding
lie.
out the
is
bad
it?
blood.
I feel like I love the fact that EP1 is unsolvable due to, like, stupidity. Like Jessica's too stupid to know what a dead body looks like, and then, like, George is like, I'm a coward and I don't want to see my girlfriend's face blasted off.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's very likely, as some people say, that Hideyoshi and Eva might have been being paid off or something like that at
Yeah,
that
of
point.
Oh,
course.
totally.
Yes.
And Hideyoshi's kind of the one that plants the
Yeah,
idea
definitely.
for George
I
not
definitely-
to see it.
Okay,
Because he's like, what was she like the last time you remember seeing her? It's probably
Yeah.
best you don't see her now.
yes.
I suppose.
So,
you know.
it's, yeah,
Okay,
that's...
the way I think it happened is this time around, Saya decided to obviously work with Eva and Hideyoshi, and then after the first Twilight, like Eva was acting very, very recklessly. She was basically speaking like very freely. She wasn't taking that much care into what she was saying. Like with the knowledge of all of the other episodes, you can clearly see that when we're reading, like when Eva starts speaking with Batra about the events, she's just not careful at all. So I can very clearly imagine Sion being like, okay, well then, you're dying next time. Next
You're
turn,
next.
you gotta go.
I mean, totally. It would be so risky to have your accomplices just live beyond more murders, because then they'll be like, holy shit, they're not stopping. We gotta like get the hell out of here, or like kill everyone else before we get killed. So it's totally plausible that they were planned to get killed from
Yeah,
the start. You know, he's an
exactly.
accomplice and then get rid of them ASAP.
Eva just trying to turn Batra.
Because everyone who dies in the first session is someone whose death benefits Eva, because it's like, okay, we kill all of my siblings and the one smart spouse, So it's basically just me, my husband, and Natsuhi in that generation, and I can still
Natsuhi doesn't mean jack shit.
And we also get rid of Shannon, so my son can't bitch at me for not letting him marry her. All the people that she wants gone. So of course she'd say yes. And then Hideyoshi's like, well, I guess I got a cover from my wife. So
it's like, yes,
that's like the perfect Hideyoshi. Like I really think Hideyoshi's a great character, but like Hideyoshi's biggest downfall is just being the absolute like yes dear every single time he does anything when Eva does anything, like Eva could just literally kick a puppy and Hideyoshi would be like, yep, she's right, like she did that puppy deserved it.
I mean, yeah, case in point, episode 3, where, he's yes during the entire time.
Until he doesn't, and then she kills him.
She fucking just straight up murder.
Yeah. That's the thing, I think that's the thing, I think there are circumstances where he'll be like, you're going too far. Like I said, I think it's a case of, if he'd necessarily been 100% knowledgeable about what was happening before it happened, he would have tried to stop it, as we see in episode 3. But if it's covering her up after it's happened, he's willing to do that because it's like, well, it's not like I'm going to bring them back
it's water under the bridge now. It's
not covering for her. Those people are dead, so I might as well protect my wife. That's totally. Kind of how I imagine it going down in his head, at least, because based on what we see in episode 3, basically.
For sure. So we have a couple words from our audience, from Jensen.
Yeah, Jensen's just a bit confused about Second Twilight, and probably some other people listening to this maybe. He basically just doesn't understand how the Second Twilight can be solved if the chains are arbitrarily powerful, if the chains are there. So the way I solve this, maybe there's another way of solving this, is the chains just... Okay, let me try to remember.
So just before...
I haven't reread that bit recently, so I'm
just gonna, refresh people's memory. So, Second Twilight is the
I got it. Okay, no, go ahead, Mushroom. I just remembered what I wanted.
Okay, Des. I'm just gonna explain, just for people who don't exactly remember what they mean by Second Twilight. Second Twilight is the murder of Eva and Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi was in the bathtub. He was naked. He had a stake on his head. And, is it his head, right? Okay, he had a stake on
his forehead,
yes. So stake on his head, Hideyoshi
with
naked.
A stake of hell on his forehead.
Yes, it's big L.
Well, the murders keep happening.
No.
And the murders keep happening.
So Hideyoshi naked in bathtub, water still running. He has a stake on his forehead, and then Eva is in the other room, which is in the bedroom, lying on the bed. She also has a stake on her forehead, and the idea is that the room was locked before Kumasawa and Kanon showed up, and there was a latch on it.
Yeah.
Right? Correct?
Yeah, I remember that much. And Kanon's outside of the room, so...
Yes, and there's also a magic symbol on the door once they come back, because Kumasawa and Kanon leave, and when they come back, there's a magic circle on the door.
Okay.
And basically the way to solve this is...
that important, to be fair.
Okay, so that's what were you gonna say?
I mean, it's one more thing Ryukishi can play with to confuse people,
Yeah, but it's not like that's important to working out what's actually going on. It's just, it means someone had to put it there, but if Kanon's already on the outside anyway, then they could have done that, basically.
I mean, no, it does... I'd argue it does matter, because you need time to set it up. You need to be alone or with an accomplice. It's not something like just putting a letter on top of a table.
Just to be clear, I think it's reasonable to assume that, because we already kind of accept, based on what we know, that the Severance are accomplices and Kanon is, the culprit, effectively. So, therefore... they would have had time.
What do you think, that's what we're gonna say. What do you think happened there? How would you solve that close round?
Okay, So basically, Kumasawa and I don't have my notes here, so I may be missing on some details. But basically, Kumasawa and Kanon went in there, knocked on the door. They don't need to knock on the door. They just opened the door with the master key because the door wouldn't be chained, and the reason the door wouldn't be chained is because they're accomplices. They don't need to fear being killed, right? So they just get into the room, kill both of them, put the stakes in place, get out, and then when the group arrives, they conveniently find the door of the room opened and the chain cut. Like, they had time to set it up. They just cut the chain before everyone arrives, and then they just conveniently find them inside of the room. And the story is, the door was locked and chained, so we had to go pick up the chain cutters to cut the chain.
Yeah, I agree. That was what I thought. Like, I think the idea is that they just fucking wazzed in, killed both of them, and then made a fake closed room. They were just flat out lying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Totally, yeah. It wasn't in red, so they could have anything. All of episode 1 isn't in red, so
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's
honestly
some red
anything could have happened
after the fact. I think.
I mean, you don't have the red, but
so.
You have the battle between Will and Claire to go on with. That's some pretty big tips. For example, I think that one about the chain. He said
Allusion
something
to
like
illusion. Yes, that's a very
The chain, I don't know what.
Yeah, that's an allusion to illusion. Yeah, and
yeah.
I think it's pretty impressive because if you think about EP1 in a way of knowing what actually happens later, or know what the idea of what's the magic shit happening and what is what's real, you could really just think about all of these people are just flat out lying. What I actually don't know is that I don't actually kind of understand 7th and 8th Twilight, the one where does Kanon just was into the room, shoots Genji, Nanjo, Kumasawa in the face, and then it was just hey Maria, just stand here, put your ears up. That's literally what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, do we get confirmation that they're actually dead? I'm trying to remember.
That they're actually dead?
Yeah. Because they could have been faking it.
I don't think they...
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember.
I think...
Yeah, they don't
their
have
heads
any
were
head.
blasted
Okay,
off. So
well, again, then isn't it possible
Nox number, I don't know what. It isn't possible
a double?
because Batra is acting as the detective, and he clearly looked at the corpses, so he can't look at the corpses and them not.
And their
being
faces
dead.
are clearly visible.
No, their faces are I think their faces are gone. That's the whole point of them.
Yeah, if their faces are gone, then he's not confirming their identities, so they could be fakes.
Okay, isn't there also a Knox rule about the impossibility of fake corpses? There can't be a murder without a corpse.
Well, there's a lot of corpses.
Yeah, but by that reasoning, there can't be a Shannon corpse.
Yes, there can. Yes, it. Fuck. Okay, grammar. Don't fail me now.
I think.
Yes, it because Batra doesn't see her. Batra just the information that Shannon is there. It's through other people.
That. Okay, fair. I can't remember the specifics of that bit because I didn't read that recently.
It's tricky because on the visual novel you have a CG of Shannon dead, so you're like, oh yeah, Batra is.
Well, only
Shannon
in the
just
PS3 version. In the original version, you don't get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the original version, it doesn't have any of the special.
Yeah,
CGs.
but the special CGs are so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but so yeah, I think that's something super interesting about the whole Shannon canon thing, because I love the idea of just in the end of EP1 there's just one shadowly person in front of the gigantic portraits, they're wearing the Beatrice dress, and the three cousins just turn around, and it's just Shannon/Canon in a dress, and it's hi. That is so perfect. They I feel like at that moment Sayo looks at them and then just gets the joy out of watching the pure shock on their faces, and this whole place just blows up.
Yes.
Right?
Rereading that
when I
scene,
first read it,
knowing what happens is just so... It's not even sad, it's just completely devastating. You're here, yeah, it's about to blow up. Fuck. I can imagine myself being there. The ground starts shaking, everything starts falling off, and in the next moment we're just all fucking dead. Like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah. Ooh. It's so
Sorry.
good. Wait. Can we? I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask both like Lorenzo and like Evatress. Like, when you guys were reading this, like, did you guys think like what did you think the point of Umineko is? Like, because, like, when I was reading Umineko, I was like, oh, like, it's like that kind of story. I read Higurashi already. Like, it's the story where he has to, like, figure out how to get home, or, like, figure out how to keep his, like, family alive. Or, like, maybe he just defeats the witch, and then he wins, and then he gets to live happily ever after. And then that's what oh, how dumb I could be.
No, I was totally on dumb bitch mode when I was reading episode 1. Honestly, up until like maybe even episode 5 or 6, I was still kind of caught up with the whole magic aspect, because if you thought episode 1 was hard, episode 2 throws in, magic and witches, and you're just like, I can't even keep track of like what's even going on in the story because of all that. And I think the first magic/red herring thing that they throw out there is the epitaph, and I'm like, okay, ritual killings, there's gold, I think, and I personally didn't think the motive was the gold. I just thought, this is crazy killer on the loose, and there may or may not be a 19th person. I was in the 19th person camp for this, for most of it, even up until like episode 6. It was just like,
they straight up
totally
deny
an
the
extra
existence
person.
of a 19th person in the second one. Yeah,
They did, but I was like,
they deny it in red.
19th? I was like I told you, I was on dumb bitch mode the whole time, and I was like, 19th person, what if it meant 19th personality? And I was like, nah, it can't be that. It has to be someone else. I was, but that was basically me believing in the epitaph, believing in an actual witch, actual magic happening, falling for all the tricks.
What else do you guys think? While reading through EP1, do anybody have any lovely memories of EP1 that they want to share?
I remember reading through the whole thing, and I mean, I will be completely honest with you. I don't think it might have been the translation. It might be, just how Japanese works, but the writing was really, I don't know. It went on, and I was like, wow, it's really killing the mood for a lot of points. And I don't think people read this for the writing, but to each their own. I was like talking to a friend the whole time I was reading this, and I was like, is it going to get good? Is it going to get good? Is it going to get good? But eventually the murders happened. The ending happened, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm still in the dark. I need to figure out what happens. I'll
this
power through
fundamental
it.
issue with the fact that they're having to introduce 18 characters, and they're having to give you a bit of insight into each and every single one of them so you can understand their role and their relationship to other characters, because that's important.
Right.
But it's a bit of a struggle to get through because you're not getting any payoff in any of that stuff for a while. So the opening is pretty dry, but like it has some very nice characterful moments peppered in there. But like I always found it a bit of a slog to get through. Like even rereading it, like it's like, okay, get through this bit, and there we go.
I guess I'm
totally. It could have done with a lot more edits.
I actually that part of Umineko about it basically describing everything that happens during the day, even how many minutes the characters sat on the toilet. Like I love that part of Umineko. I love reading about every little thing these characters do. Even on the first episode, I just really like that aspect. But as always, I'm in the minority.
No, that's fair. I mean, like, to be honest, when I started reading Higurashi, I already knew to anticipate this kind of really long, drawn-out kind of thing, and I was, like, totally fine with it. Like, all the build-up and exposition and extra details they give you in the first episode, it's kind of just acknowledged throughout the rest of the subsequent episodes and makes reading episodes 2 through 8 more streamlined, you know?
Exactly.
So I guess it was necessary.
It's laying the
Because there's so much
foundation.
in
To an
episode
extent.
1.
It's
Yes,
establishing
yeah.
the characters. It's laying the foundations. It's just, unless you know there's going to be payoff for it, I know it can be a struggle for some people to get through. Because that's the main thing I've gotten from, like, I have had a few cases where I've been, because obviously episode 1 is available for free, I've been able to persuade people to download it, and they never got past the opening
It's
bit
so long.
because they just found it too dry, and it takes
Yeah.
so long. And they're like, I do not have
yes.
the time for this. And it's just like, yeah, but if you got past that bit, you'd probably, like, be really into it, and it would feel like the time is worth investing. But getting past that initial segment, whilst the payoff for it is absolutely great, and you can see all these little bits afterwards, it is a bit dry to get through, because it just feels like, okay, this is just like a lot of characters that I'm having to get to know, and I don't know which ones are going to be relevant. Now, obviously, as it turns out, they're all relevant, but, you know, a lot of
Except
the time there
Golda.
are when there's that many characters, you get,
Except Goda,
even
right?
then, like, Goda's position within the mystery situation is still significant.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, they all have a role to play. But the thing is in so many of these mystery novels, because the fact that most mystery novels don't have a retelling with different versions and things like that, there's usually kind of, like, at least a few characters that it doesn't matter what their deal is. They're just filler, effectively. Like, they're there to die, effectively. And Goda is the closest thing you have to that, but even Goda has more depth going on than a lot of those sorts of characters typically do. And certainly all the family members, who are the people who take the majority of the screen time up, have their relationships and how they interact with one another is extremely important throughout the story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you said something very interesting there that I had never thought about, which is that characters in mystery novels, usually they aren't characters. They are basically plot devices that exist either to provide alibis or to make a murder harder to understand, or to provide red herrings. It's always something like that. They're always kind of work like plot devices instead of characters.
Which is exactly how
Umineko
Erica
goes the
treats
extra
them.
mile.
Yeah. And that's how
Yeah.
Erica treats them. That's how Erica treats everyone, because that's the perspective she's occupying of a traditional detective position, because she's the only character that's really a character, you know? People don't go to read Sherlock Holmes or Hercule Poirot stories, or, you know, they don't go to read those, you know, based on the characters that are getting killed. They read those for the detective.
yeah, like, in a way, like, Umineko has a lot to do with the discourse of the idea of, like, who's the most important story in the mystery, and usually in the kind of like mass media shows that we watch, or like TV shows, or like novels we read, like, the detective and their assistant is the most important characters. Like, no matter what kind of crime drama you're watching, or like Sherlock Holmes, like, that the idea is that, like, you're here to read about the detective, and that's it. Like, and like, whoever dies this week is whoever dies. But like, in Umineko, it really drills down the idea that, like, oh, you're meeting, like, these people on this island, and it doesn't matter if, like, they're good people or not, or what, like, or if they're gonna die or not. Like, all of them matter, like, in their own way. Like, that's why EP5 cuts so deep, because, like, at that point, you feel so bad for Natsuki, and you, like, really wish that she doesn't get, like, completely shit on by this, like, a complete asshole of a character, which is, like, Erica, and you just, like, and, like, you know, like, she's lying, and so on and so forth. This is EP5 spoilers, but it's, like, you really just, like, and you just, like, feel so awful, because, like, at that point, you're, like, what you're feeling is that, like, it doesn't necessarily matter that much that the truth right now, like, to you, the emotional truth is, like, you don't want Natsuki to suffer.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, I was in the camp of, I don't want to blame anybody. There has to be a 19th person, right? Because, like, I was low-key attached to everyone, except Goda and George. But, like, Ryukishi really got me in Battler not wanting to blame any of his friends or family. Just like, I was in the same boat as that. I was like, it can't be any of those people. I just have to figure out if there's like this hidden person who's somehow like going around killing people because I'm too attached.
Even though they say straight up in the second episode that can't be happening.
They did! Again, dumb bitch mode.
No, I was on the opposite side then. So now we can see two sides of the impact of Erika in episode 5, because I've always been in the position of, okay, let's start accusing people and start seeing how characters can have done this without the existence of a 19th person. But I wasn't detached by Erika, right? I was getting to know these characters and getting attached to them. So by the time we get to episode 5, I'm attached to these characters. I feel things for these characters. And Erika walks in and starts looking at this story very objectively and treating these characters like I'm treating them. And you're just like, oh, I guess I do care about these characters, but I'm honestly looking at them the same way this ruthless bitch is treating them right now.
Yeah, I remember when EP5 came out, the fandom was just in uproar because they were kind of like, did he just call us out on treating his characters this way? Like, ow, vicious.
Ryukishi is not subtle in the way how he just wants to call out everybody. Like, he does not care. Yeah. And I think, like, there's something very cute about it. Like, just like how EP5 talks about how a mystery is just a date between two, like, it's a courting process, like, it's a date, it's about flirting, like, it's about bearing your heart out, and, like, the idea of, like, Ryukishi is, like, constantly flirting with the audience of the idea of, like, oh, like, he's calling you out, like, he's thinking you're a bitch, and, like, do you want to keep reading? Like, is that how desperate you are? And, like, I think that's hilarious. Like, Ryukishi really put it.
It's also such a, it's so characterful for frankly, the way Beatrice is behaving as well. It's a massive hint, right?
Yeah.
As to the motivations as to why the message bottles got sent and things like that. Because that's the thing that really threw me in the loop. It's just like, why did that happen?
Yeah.
Which, obviously, we clearly understand why, but it's like, kind of like, Maria did not have time to write that, surely.
Yeah, and Mario
so
of all time, of all people.
Right.
Yeah, so I was just like, how?
Oh, speaking of which, the status of the cousins on the tips, you know, when their bodies are, like, exploded, I was like, huh, that's weird. It must have been magic, right? But
yeah,
like,
their body just turned into bits. It was
totally their bodies just exploding. Like, if Maria's jaw being discovered wasn't enough evidence. Yeah, I was just like, I wonder what that's about. But, you know, I couldn't think at the time, and I'm sure anyone who's, like, really sharp and reading along, they were just like, anybody who's, like, sharp about it just, like, is aware that they probably all exploded.
I felt so
There's
stupid when episode 4 came around, because I was just kind of like, how did that work if the mansion didn't explode? Because of course it doesn't mention the mansion status at all, so my brain just automatically assumed it was fine.
Doesn't.
And then it's like, the mansion blew up, and I'm just like,
I
shouldn't have made any
Yeah,
assumptions.
I was like, why isn't Angie visiting the mansion, right? Like, she just went to a different part of the island,
like,
I guess.
I realised in episode 4 what was going, like, that was what had happened, because she's not going to the mansion, so it's like, okay, I guess that's what happened. But, so I was able to work it out eventually, but the fact that it took me until episode 4 to even consider it was kind of embarrassing for me. Because I'm pretty
I totally
good
get
usually at pointing out logic, stuff like that generally.
I mean, that just goes to show how good he was at hiding the whole mystery of the cat box. Because even in, like, the little epilogue scrolling thing, they just vaguely mentioned that, oh, there's a mystery that really can't be solved because of circumstances, right? And it only makes sense in context when you know all the evidence was basically blown to bits, and you're like, oh, so they really couldn't figure anything out, except for maybe
bits were all those crime scenes they so carefully tried to preserve.
Right, it's just gone. Can you imagine just like That's the perfect crime
I
right
think
there.
there's
but,
something. That's what I mean by
gone
like
and done it.
I was such a dumb bitch while reading EP1, and I was thinking like, oh, like this is gonna be like beat the witch like kind of story, like fight for a good ending. So like I think when I got to EP4 and then EP4 just opens, like EP4 literally opens with like, oh, like now we're in 1998, 1985 happened. The mansion was blew up. There's nothing there, and then you're like, oh, wait, what? Like, like they're like it's like the type of story when you're like reading a book or reading a manga, and then the next page you flip over, it's like 5 years later, and you're like, wait, what happened? Yeah, and like I don't know, I think that's like super. It's just so shocking, and then at that moment when you realize like what they're talking about, like what does it mean to that Maria only has a jaw left? You're like, oh, like what happened with Maria's jaw? Like how did like that was the only thing? Like I was trying to think like maybe like Maria had like a peaceful death, like maybe or maybe not, like in the let's say prime or whatever, like that her head was cradled somehow or something. Like how did her jaw was the only thing that was left? That's crazy.
Well, I mean, that could have happened to her body after she died, right? You can't determine the time of death
a
from
jaw,
just an exploded
exactly.
jaw. Like the only reason why they knew it was her was
Dental,
because of dental
exactly.
records. So I always just assumed that she probably had like a relatively peaceful death, because that's kind of Saya's MO with Maria, right? So that everything got blown up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I have to really say personally.
Yeah, Lorenzo, do you have anything else?
Sea cats do crimes. Please tune in for the next episode when we delve into episode 2.
Yeah, more
because
characters
that's when
be
the shit starts
introduced.
hitting the fan.
Well, I guess I'm Mushroom, and I'm signing off. I'm just gonna say my name so people have an idea who you're talking to, and not be too confused when you look at the sprites.
And a reminder, this is Ivatrice, so sea cats do crimes.
Disconnected. And speaking on the behalf of Yensid, hi Yensid in the audience. Thanks for being our first listener to this episode. You got the behind the scenes look
before I edit it to shreds. Because I do a lot of editing.
Right.
I feel like I do a lot, like, I cut out so much. I feel kind of bad.
No, don't be.
No, it's fine. I mean, we're blessed to have such a meticulous editor, especially since this is like an hour and a half long already, and there's like a bunch of bits that need to be shortened.
Yeah, that's the best part of kind of...
Star Wars
that's the best kind of editing.
Star Wars. Star Wars. Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Let the Force be with you.
Keep that in.